Hey guys, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and this time we've got the pleasure of watching 12 Cali playing in the Tier 8 Swedish tank destroyer, the UDES 03. Now, when I got this vehicle I was super excited because it's the first tank in the line where you get to try out the new Siege game mode, and any of you who have watched my video, The Best Sniper in World of Tanks, where I talk about the Tier 10 vehicle, will know what I'm talking about, with it being just so darn special. When you get this vehicle, you just can't believe how ludicrously fast it is. Fair enough, the previous vehicle, the Tier 7 Swedish tank destroyer, is quite fast, but this thing goes at 70 kilometers an hour, and if that's not enough, it also goes at 50 kilometers an hour backwards, which certainly is a novelty. The Tier 7 can't even come close to being able to go as quickly as the UDES does go backwards. Now, one of the great things about this vehicle as well is previously you're using a 90mm, and the 240 alpha damage did feel rather mediocre, at least in my opinion. You do have a fairly decent rate of fire, but overall the DPM of the vehicle is a little bit disappointing. Then comes the UDES with a fantastic 105mm that you would be happy with to have on a Tier 10 medium tank. It has 288mm of penetration with its standard rounds. It has 330 with its premium rounds, which are also APCR. And you have the brand new Siege mechanic, which is just oh so fun to be playing around with. It makes the vehicle much faster to aim, it makes the vehicle much more accurate, and also on the UDES, and I haven't triple checked this but I could be wrong, unlike the Tier 9 and the Tier 10 tank which they changed during the testing phase of the vehicles, the UDES still gets a bit of a rate of fire increase when it does enter siege mode, in addition to that aim time and the accuracy. One thing that's also very interesting about the UDES, as you might be able to see here through the bushes, or at least see the outline, is the gun is not attached to the hull, or it's not fixed to the hull. With the Tier 9 and the Tier 10 tank, you cannot elevate the gun, and the only way to depress the tank, of course, is to be able to use that hydro pneumatic suspension. With the UDES, however, you do get kind of broken into this hydro pneumatic suspension feature with a bit of ease, because the gun can elevate. And so that means that you don't have to tilt the tank upwards to be able to elevate to shoot at your opponents. And so that can make the vehicle feel quite comfortable to be shooting with when you are in the siege mode. That also means that you can actually stop with the UDES without having to enter the siege mode, which does take 2 seconds to enter and 2 seconds to leave, and be able to elevate the gun and be able to shoot at your opponents, which is always really nice, which makes the UDES quite efficient at just bombing it around and having a good time, and still being able to do the regular kind of feel of combat without having to set up in the siege mode, which can feel a little bit awkward. Now, you might be not really impressed. You're thinking, oh great, so it's another Tier 8 tank destroyer. What's really so special about this, apart from it being ludicrously fast and having a 288mm penetration APCR round that is certainly one of the most accurate when the vehicle does enter siege mode? Well, if that isn't enough, the vehicle is also extra sneaky. This is the most sneaky high tier tank. I've made sure that I've got a few notes here so that I don't mess up any of these values, because I can't remember all the exact figures off by heart. This vehicle, when stationary, without any crew skills, without camo net, without putting camouflage on your tank, anything at all, has a stationary camo rating of 26.1%. That is the best stationary camo rating of any Tier 5 plus tank. And just to put it into perspective, at Tier 8, when we compare it to the 5th most sneaky tank, the T8, hard to believe, right? That T8, the Tier 8 American tank destroyer without a turret, because it's quite low profile, has a great camo rating. This is 50% better. The T8 has 18.18% camo rating when stationary. This, as I mentioned, 26. It's absolutely fantastic, which makes this a ludicrously sneaky Swede. Now, if that wasn't enough, the vehicle is also exceptionally good when it's firing. It has the second best camo rating, I believe, on any of the Tier 8 plus tanks when firing, behind the Object 416, and just behind the Object 416 actually, at 5.17%. And that's base, remember, that's not when we're taking into account crew skills, the camo net, premium consumable, which, believe it or not, does increase your camo as long as you do have the concealment skill assigned to your crew. And also, now this one's absolutely baffling to me, it has the 5th best camo on any tier 8 plus tank when moving. And remember that this tank has to directly compete with a load of tier 8 light tanks. That the whole purpose of a light tank is that it has a speciality, so its camo rating is the same when it's moving as when it's stationary. And so what we find is that it's only, I guess, the AMX 1390, the WZ132, the RU251 Speerpanzer, and the T54 Lightweight that have a better camo rating when moving than the UDES, and it's not even that much better. The UDES competes with them highly. And this vehicle actually has a better camo rating than the derpy American tier 8 light tank the T49 has when it's moving. This camo rating when moving, again without any crew skills whatsoever, is 15.7%. Now that's highly useful. We're talking about a vehicle that's got 400 meters view range isn't going to be able to see this tank up until about 340 meters when it is moving. And so that allows the UDES to make some quite bold plays to readjust its position, or alternatively fire the shot and then be able to pull back before it gets spotted. And when you equip this tank with the camo net, with the concealment, when you get a funky paint job on the vehicle, when you boost it up to maximum, the vehicle's camo rating when stationary goes up to 70%. 70%! That means that a vehicle with 500 meters view range isn't going to see the UDES until 150 meters. Well, it looks like he got spotted there the first time, and he's managed to do 3,885 damage and pick up 3 kills from that sneaky position that a lot of people would only feel comfortable making it to with a light tank. And that's really what you get with the UDES. You've got kind of light tank mobility, although you don't have the light tank tank traverse, so you've got to watch out for that when you're turning the vehicle, and you certainly don't have the turret and the flexible nature of having the turret, right? But you do have a 105mm gun with that 288mm of penetration, which allows you to just go through the thickest parts of a Centurion 7-1, which is not the most lightly armored tank. I think that one went straight through the gun mantlet. Now 12 Cali has to shut down this Centurion 7-1, and he also has to watch out for the Leopard prototype on the enemy team, another vehicle that is a whole tier higher than him. And I believe when that Leopard prototype shot him, he must have been using, he couldn't have been using the top 105mm caliber gun unless he fired a high explosive round. So in this kind of a situation, the UDES is quite vulnerable. He uses his repair pack on the tracks quickly, because when you track this tank, it actually can't turn the vehicle at all, and so you can't turn the gun left and right with the arc, and you do feel that you're in a completely tricky situation. In those kind of situations, you just have to go, okay, I'm going to lose health, I have no armor, I don't even really have that many hit points, but I'm going to try and kill what's in front of me before he takes me out. And the repair kit, as I mentioned, just so crucial in this tank. Now that it is gone, if 12 Cali gets tracked again and locked in place, he is pretty much doomed with the 421 hit points that he has left. Absolutely fantastic stuff so far. I love the way that he took out those 2 tier 9 medium tanks, but this is the part of the game that really is the highlight for me. Up until this point, we've seen 12 Cali showing the fantastic camo rating of the vehicle that I really wanted to demonstrate for you, and also some impeccable sniping skills using the vehicle's great accuracy and aim time in sniper mode. But now he's going to use the flexibility of the backwards driving at 50 kilometers an hour and some great plays to be able to pick apart these opponents, or at least attempt to. I'm not going to spoil it for you quite yet. So he's shooting through the bushes here. Great play. He used his great camo rating on the move to spot the Sturmil, which is certainly not a stealthy tank. Probably doesn't have quite as good view range as him either. Actually, this has got 350 meters view range, so it's definitely the camo rating there and not the view range that's helping him out that much. But then what he does is he shoots through the bushes to be able to hit the Sturmil. Now he goes up on top. He's probably going to get spotted here, although the Sturmil doesn't actually spot him until he fires. Can you believe that? How sneaky that tank was, that it was able to just drive straight up onto that slope, and until it fires, remember with the excellent camo rating when stationary and moving, he remains hidden. So he's put 2 rounds into the Sturmil, absolutely perfect play, only firing when he thinks that he's got the ambush shot off. And I love what he does here as well, sitting in the bush, waiting. He's expecting that tier 7 German tank destroyer with the excellent gun depression to stick its nose over this ridge line and to try and have a glimpse at him. Well, have a shot at him, I guess, while he's trying to run away. The Sturm Mill, that would have definitely been the right thing for him to do. Or maybe it wouldn't have been, because 12 Cali is quite a sneaky player here, and sitting in this bush, he wants to get the ambush off, and then as soon as he's got the ambush off, he wants to make it away. Now, somebody enters the cap circle. I guess 12 Cali expects that that's the Sturm Mill on the enemy team that he's going to have to watch out for. But remember, the Tiger was last spotted on the mid-ridge, and there's the Sturm Mill. Quickly enters the siege mode, but it's just too little too late. One of the disappointing things about the Swedish tank destroyers is, fair enough, they have a lot of good things going for them, but having to set up there to be able to get the shot is rather awkward. I think that 12 Cali would have done better there to actually take the shot without the siege mode, because remember, you can elevate the gun in this tank unlike the tier 9 and tier 10. And still, outside of the siege mode, the vehicle is fairly accurate. It's got 0.34 accuracy outside the siege mode, and his aim time isn't too bad at 2.88. Now Cali just can absolutely play around with his opponents here. That's the perfect thing to happen for him. To enter the cap circle, now he just gets to sit on this ridgeline. When he gets his binoculars and his camo net going, there's no way the opponents are going to be able to see him, probably even when firing. I love what he's doing here. This is the 445 meters maximum spotting range. He's at 394 meters, and even when stationary and firing, I bet you this, the camo rating of this tank is probably still about 15%. And so that means for them to be able to spot him, that Tiger would have to have pretty much about 460 meters view range. Not a lot of Tigers do have that, unless they're using binoculars and they have good crew skills. And so that means that the Tiger is completely helpless, although it does look like he's using the battle marker indication. He's fired in the same line as 12 Cali here, but he doesn't have the elevation correct at all. Sure, the new funky feature with, what is it exactly called? The feedback system and the fire direction indicator, that's fairly obvious now thinking about it in retrospect, can tell you exactly where they were, i.e. in a directional around you, but they can't tell you where they are in the elevation. So the fact that the Tiger wasn't firing flat there, as he might have been on a Himmelsdorf, certainly does help Cali out, and he picks up his 7th kill of the game. 7,000 damage now in a tier 8 tank destroyer. That's just a crazy result for a tier 8 tank. You know what, if I was in a tier 10 vehicle, I would be super chuffed with this result. But 12 Cali seems like he's absolutely mastered the UDES right from the get-go. Although arguably as well, the fact that he is on Prokhorovka will be a help. Now 12 Cali loads one of his 2 high explosive rounds, fires it in, great choice of ammunition there, and he gets spotted. Oh gosh, maybe he should have been a little bit more defensive there and tried to get it at long range. He does get spotted by the Su-14-2, and the artillery narrowly misses him. That would have been an absolute heartbreak. And to be honest, well, considering how long is left on the game, maybe 12 Cali didn't have enough time to be able to readjust the distance before he did shoot at the Su-14-2. If he'd had a little bit more time, he could have probably changed it to be about 350 meters, and then the Su-14-2 would have never been able to spot him. But these high explosive rounds, fair enough, they have little penetration at 53 millimeters due to the low caliber nature of this 105mm Swedish gun, but they do have 480 alpha damage, which means that when you're firing at self-propelled guns that have over 400 hit points, you're not going to have to roll the dice to try and roll high with the AP rounds to be able to kill them in a single shot. It's a very clever use of ammunition here by 12 Cali. Now the artillery takes a blind fire right at the destructible rubble here, and 12 Cali is going to try and do something sneaky. I guess he thinks that lightning never strikes twice in the same place, right? And so he's slowly going to move over, and this is just how limited this tank is in the siege mode to 5 kilometers an hour. And so he's gone to where the artillery last fired, because I guess he doesn't think that they're going to fire there twice. I think that's quite a risky strategy, however, in my opinion. And I think he would be doing better right now by just sitting still, keeping his camo net activated, keeping his binoculars activated. And I think that was a tiny little misplay, at least in my opinion. But oh gosh, the artillery is right behind him. But the artillery doesn't see him. Can you believe that? How far is he away? He must be about 150 meters away from 12 Cali here in his UDES, but he doesn't quite spot him. 12 Cali decides to adjust the range a little bit further, then he decides to go forwards. He can't quite make up his mind. He goes back into the siege mode. He's going to, oh, he's been spotted now, but the Batchat doesn't have the time left. Shot into the top of the turret. Great result there. 9th kill, 7,821 damage that we saw being dealt, and he also fully caps out at the end of the game with an Invader medal. What a result here. Fantastic performance in the brand new Tier 8 Swedish tank destroyer. So I just love what 12 Cali did here. This was a perfect example of gameplay showing you exactly what you need to do in your sneaky tanks. So what an absolutely insane result here for 12 Cali. He gets his ace tanker, something that I haven't been able to get in this vehicle so far. And yeah, thank you for making it so hard to be able to get one. 2,316 base experience points. That has to be one of the all-time highs in a Tier 8 tank destroyer. And in fact it is. That's higher than any Tier 8 tank destroyer with regards to experience was able to achieve in patch 9.16. But as if that wasn't enough, he also picks up a Radley Walters medal for his 9 kills. The Kolobanov's, the one that everyone wants for standing alone against at least 5 opponents. A Defender's medal for his heroic efforts in taking out that Tiger inside the cap circle. A High Caliber medal for his 8,216 damage dealt. And an Invader medal as he baited that Bat-Chat artillery, that tier 9 self-propelled gun, into coming at him at the end of the game. And to top off an all-round fantastic replay, 12 Cali also made 56,000 credits profit. Not too bad for a non-premium vehicle. 12 Cali, congratulations to you on one of the most impressive tank destroyer games I've ever seen, and by far the best UDES game we have seen so far. And thank you so much for uploading it on What Replays for the community to enjoy. I certainly did, and hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like, it really helps the channel out. And if you want to see some more awesome Swedish tank destroyer action, then simply click through up here to see its bigger brother, the STRV-103B, kicking all tons of butt. And let me know in the comments, what are your most loved or hated sneaky tanks in the game and why? And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.